It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
To Tuesday, we focus on a different state each week, taking a look at their firearms laws and history. We also feature a gun owners' rights group and take a look at their background, focus, and successes.
And good evening, everybody. We are live. This is our daily gun show. We come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern. And we talk about guns and Second Amendment topics. So each day we have a different kind of theme to the show. On Tuesdays, it's the Second Amendment. Earlier, before another show got ruined, they were talking about the Second Amendment sanctuary states, and then a little bit about the way to disassemble the national level firearms infringements. And one topic of that conversation would be to the debate between removing the 1968 Gun Control Act or the 1934 National Firearms Act. When we started talking about that, we brought up the Hughes Amendment to the Firearms Owners Protection Act of 1986. And it's called the Hughes Amendment because of a jerk named William Hughes. This is a video I made back in... I have to stretch this out a little bit to be able to see the date. I made this in August of 2013.
Let's take another look at U.S. firearms laws, this time from the perspective of a lawmaker, William J. Hughes. Now, you may or may not be familiar with his name, but you're probably familiar with the legislation he's responsible for. Of course, this is all done for educational purposes. We always encourage you to do your own research. Hughes was a member of the U.S. House of Representatives for New Jersey's 2nd District. He was born in 1932, graduated high school in 1950. By 1959, he had passed the bar, and from 1960 to 70, he was a first assistant prosecutor for a county in New Jersey. Then in 1975, he began a 20-year run on the U.S. House of Representatives, again for the state of New Jersey, as a Democrat. From 1981 through 1990, he chaired the subcommittee on crime, and that's what we'll be focusing on. He then became the ambassador to Panama and received lots of honorary degrees. He's definitely got a lot of political capital. He's been a politician his whole life, and the reason we show his biography here is to give you an idea of his experiences and his frame of reference. He's basically been a student, then a prosecuting attorney, then a representative. He's definitely been responsible for a lot of firearms legislation. Let's take a look at that 9-year stint from 1981 through 1990 when he was the chair of the subcommittee. First, the subcommittee has jurisdiction over all federal firearms laws, as well as the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, which of course is there to enforce those laws. So as the chair of that subcommittee, he was responsible for 5 major acts of firearms legislation. Now on the surface, they all look like they're done with good intention, but let's take a closer look at those. We'll do these actually in other videos, but let's take a quick look at each of them now. First, the Armed Career Criminals Act of 1984 basically created minimum sentences and fines for certain felonies when used with a firearm. Next, the Law Enforcement Officers Protection Act of 95 basically prohibited the manufacture, importation, and sale of ammunition designed to go through soft armor. The Career Criminals Amendments Act, again, added a mandatory sentence for other felonies with a firearm. And then the Firearms Owners Protection Act of 1986 included the Hughes Amendment, which Hughes is, of course, infamous for. The Hughes Amendment was tacked on to the end of the voting, and as you can see in the live video that's available now online, it was definitely passed incorrectly, out of order, and should never have been put into law. So this is why Hughes will always be infamous with firearms owners. And again, the Hughes Amendment prohibited the private possession of full auto machine guns. that were created after 1986. And again, that's something that we still all live with to this day. Finally, the Undetectable Firearms Act of 1988, which is something we did a video on recently, prohibited any firearm which was detectable through metal detectors or X-ray machines. Again, a law in science fiction, basically. Then Hughes later founded the Center for Public Policy in New Jersey, and in 1996, the Federal Aviation Administration's Technical Center in New Jersey was named after him. Now, why did we take the time to take a look at Hughes and the laws that he's responsible for? He's a person that doesn't believe full auto machine guns have a purpose. And he was responsible for 9 years for our federal firearms laws, and he's unfortunately responsible for some unfortunate legislation, depending on which one you're looking at and who you talk to. So let's talk again about the laws that he's responsible for. Now, again, on the surface, mandatory sentences, are a good thing. However, are they effective? Are they necessary? And we can take a look at all kinds of crimes that have mandatory minimums and whether or not they're effective and necessary. But that's probably the topic for a whole nother video. So let's take a look at the violence point and the laws that he passed that specifically pick out the firearm in violent crime. Why would the device used to commit violence require more or less punishment? In other words, if you committed violence with a feather duster, would it require less punishment than violence done with a firearm? And I don't think people pay attention enough to that facet of this, because typically the most reprehensible and most wicked violence is given the longest sentences or the largest fines. So when they equate the most reprehensible and the most wicked violence with firearms, they're basically persecuting firearms or firearms owners, either intentionally or unintentionally. So this is either a deliberate attempt to demonize the firearm or the firearm owner or the person who has the mindset to use a firearm in defense, or it's completely unintentional. But either way, I suggest that they're causing the same amount of damage overall to the country. I put a video up like this because I think it's our job to question the lawmakers as well as the laws that they're responsible for. I think we need to question the need for more laws. Few laws give us a nice framework we can all work well in society. The more laws we give, the more places we give for criminals to hide. We have some links here to the places we use to research this video. We always encourage you to support the organizations that support our freedom. We post information like this on our websites. We always thank you for your support. And as always, thanks for watching.
So that's a video from whatever I said, 2012? Come on, man. So, or no, 2013. So that's Hughes and why he hates individual freedom so much. It's an a-hole. So he's also responsible for the Armed Career Criminals Act, mandatory minimums for guns, where they used to just be for drugs. Also, Law Enforcement Officers Protection Act. And the Career Criminals Amendments Act, which added more mandatory time. I think it took it from like 5 to 10 years or some craziness. And then the Firearms Owners Protection Act, we just talked about the Hughes Amendment, and then that fucking Undetectable Firearms Act, which now they're using against 3D printing. I don't know if I put the link in here. So that's a link to the video we just watched, and I just posted it over on UGETube as well. Nope, mandatory minimums are a bad thing and take the discretion away from the judge who's there to meet the individual and creates a situation where you get people getting baby with the bathwater. Is that the way to say it? You're getting like just too much not enough. Well, what judges are for, to offer reason and discretion. Take that away from them, you screw everything up. All right, so I guess I got a vote. So the first state that I see listed in the comments over here is the state I'm going to vote for, because I'm on a different channel. I have to vote to be able to see the results. But on Tuesdays, we look at each state, or one state of the union, and we take a look at its in firearms, in 2A, I should say. So I'm going to go over back to the gun websites channel, we'll go over to the community tab. Looks like DJ said Tennessee. Then we'll go to the community tab of the channel. We'll scroll down a little bit and we'll get to where I asked the YouTube's or the gun website side of things. 24 votes over there. Nebraska and Tennessee. And DJ emphatically spams the chat with Tennessee a bunch of times. 4 times, actually. So what's up with that? So I'll vote for Tennessee here, and then what happens? Look at how long this takes. You know why? Because it's YouTube censorship. Clover will go around acting like this isn't YouTube censorship, but that's... I know I already voted in the poll. Would you show me the results of the poll then? Stupid YouTube censorship. I'm going to refresh the page, and I'm going to lose my cool screen capture. Stupid. Oh, you know what? I'll get a little tiny version of it, though. Watch this. It'll be a small version of it. See? And it's got DJ saying Tennessee on it. Maybe I'll see the results of the poll now, eventually. There we go. Oh, snap. It's overwhelmingly Tennessee. I guess it's Tennessee tonight. I guess I should have also brought the book over instead of not having the book over here. There it is. Slap that down. Move this over. Pull this across. Drag this down. Put a light on. Just like in the big leagues. All right, so here we go. We're going to take a look at this. Oh, now I have to turn this off. This is called the 50 state. This is called the 50 states of 2A. You can't believe how many things I have to tighten and wiggle to get this camera to stand here. We're going to take a look at Tennessee tonight. And if you want, depending on how long this takes, I think there's some stuff going on in Tennessee, but not that much. So depending on how long this takes, I guess I'll just go ahead and end this. Oh, I can't end the poll. Stupid. All right, now we're going to sit here and flip accounts so I can end the poll, and then we'll do something after this, maybe a different gun owners' rights organization. So go ahead, the next four suggestions that aren't from DJ. He can only put in one. So one from DJ and then 3 others. Those are the organizations that I'll put into the new poll that's about to happen. And then that'll be the organization that we focus on tonight. So I'll start that off. What 2A project, I'll put it that way, should we focus on tonight? Feel free to suggest something that isn't one of the 7 that we always focus on too, you know what I'm saying? What project should we focus on tonight? I voted for my neighbors in Indiana. I don't know what that means. Tennessee volunteers, that's not a thing, so that doesn't count. All right, I'll just keep waiting for people to put that up, and then we'll dig in and look for Tennessee in here. So the deal is with this particular book is that I misprinted it. So as you can see, where it goes South Dakota, Texas, west in Vermont, the hell, like Tennessee doesn't exist. So now I can go over here and it's upside down and backwards and stuff. So it's Florida, Illinois. So that means I got to do one of these, got to turn it this way and start flipping through. There it is, Tennessee, bam, just flipping through this way and find it. So this is a misprint, but if you wanted to get one of these, sometimes we have them over at the Gear website store. I do have stuff in stock. So if I have printer ink in the house, I should say. I can print one of these. If somebody's interested in one and they're not over at the store, feel free to request one. I can print them now. I think they're $20, $19.84 probably. But what we're looking at is basically a page for each state. At the top, we talk about the Second Amendment from that state. When it was brought into the Union, the shape of the state with its flag. We got some general information from all the states, kind of consistent information. And then we get into some different things about the state. Its organizations, its affiliations, its museums, its industry, and its activists and inventors and other things we might discover. All right, so what do we got over here? I voted, so ASA, American Suppressor Association, which was just telling everybody to pay attention to their, I'll just put it in American. Oh, yeah. We can type the whole thing in there. So American Suppressor Association, and I can type in ASA. How crazy is that? Has just posted something talking about the their YouTube channel or something. All right, so at this point, Pants gave us one suggestion. Anybody can come up with 3 other suggestions, and then we'll know what y'all can vote on, and that's what we'll talk about when we're done talking about Tennessee. Tennessee was our 16th state, and it was brought in on June 1st, 1796. They do have a Second Amendment. It's in Article 1, Section 26 of their state constitution, and it reads that the citizens of the state have a right to keep and bear arms for their common defense, but the legislator shall have power by law to regulate the wearing of arms with a view to prevent crime. The hell, Tennessee? That's a stupid Second Amendment. I mean, it's technically a Second Amendment. That's like the 38 super of Second Amendments, I think. That's a weird Second Amendment. How about you change that, Tennessee? All right, next up is open carry. They have it with a permit. That's also weird. I don't like it. It's better than no open carry, I guess, but it's weird. So why don't you change that also? Concealed carry. In 1989, they got May issue, like we have 9 states. Damn, I should know this because everybody's been talking about May issue lately. It's like 8 or 9 states with May issue. So Tennessee was one of them in 1989, but in 1995, boom, went to shall issue. As of when I printed this, the current information was from 2017. I printed it in 2020. Almost 600,000, 594,000 permits issued in Tennessee. And as far as I know, nobody gets an out-of-state Tennessee permit. There's no need, and never even heard of one. I don't even know if they exist. So that's nothing to sneeze at. That's a lot of carry permits. Let's see what's next. Constitutional carry. Are they one of the new ones? Am I crazy? Am I messing up? Are they one of the good new ones? Can't even keep track anymore. Let's get this book out. Where do I got constitutional carry in here? Owning guns, carrying guns. Constitutional carry, page 34. Texas is 21. Oh man, I don't have any of them in here. How about we go over to the old-fashioned way of looking on the internet? No one's going to suggest another organization? What is up with that? Nobody's even listening tonight. So if this was pop quiz, y'all failing because nobody's offering a suggestion for another organization. Pants just took it with ASA. Let's see. So now what we're looking for, way down here. Oh yeah, Tennessee was. Oh, it's right there, number 20. So let's put the rest of them in here since I got it open though. We're talking Alabama. It's number 22. We got Ohio is number 23. And then you got Indiana. Number 24. And then, what, Georgia's number 25? I have to update the website too. Dang, I got to update all kinds of things. You think Second Amendment activism should just happen? Like, how come these things aren't just updated or whatever? So it looks like Tennessee was constitutional carry as of July 1st, 2021, state number 20. So even though this is a shitty draft, I will cross out constitutional. I'll put in state number 20 and whatever I said, 2021. I'll just leave it like that. Like that. All right. So then we have suppressors for hunting. Nope, no suppressors for hunting. There's suppressors for hunting. Unless they've changed that, and I don't know. Because I can't just look up everything. Constitutional carry is important. suppressors for hunting a little bit less important. Let's see. So next up is state firearm. Look at that. It is the Barrett M82A1. So the cool semi-auto Barrett. And guess what? Ronnie Barrett is from Tennessee. So then we have Second Amendment Sanctuaries. They have 58 out of 95 counties, as of when I wrote this at least, and those change quite a bit. There's a place called sanctuarycounties.com, I think. It's either .com or .org, but I think it's .com, where you can find out more about that. And then they have 2 cities and 1 town that are Second Amendment sanctuaries as well. Some states where a county can't flip, the cities and towns will sometimes pass those kind of things. So pretty decent, way more than 50% in Tennessee. All right, so still nobody's suggesting organizations. Does that mean that everybody that's watching except for Pants is a federal agent? Just here to I don't know, get overtime, I guess? So let's talk about some of the stuff that's in Tennessee, going down this side of the page here. Some of the training organizations and ranges. So you've got Tactical Response. You started that in 96. That's, let's see if that's Tennessee. He's kind of right where one of them stars is. All right, and kind of in the middle at the top. And he's got training facilities there and some ranges. Well, not open to the public, but training facilities with ranges, I guess I should say. Then you've got Rangemaster over in Memphis, founded in 1996 to 2014, I guess. Founded by Tom Givens. And there's, we're going to be focusing on Thursdays on training. Got pickups. One of my projects is to work on the lineage and the history of training, firearms training, because it's definitely knowable. It's all out there. Most of the people in it, except for the very old ones that started the NRA and stuff, like most of them are still kicking. They're still alive. They're still training even. So when you get into the evolution of training and how it goes from military to military/civilian, kind of militia/reserve kind of thing, to scouts and preparation for military type of training, and then competition and practice and skill set development for competition, and then those competitions being are emphasizing, I guess, personal protection. Really interesting. Then, of course, you get into specific tactics for SWAT and operator level stuff where you're knocking down doors and working in urban environments. There's jungle and desert and mountain situations. All of that information and training that gets created by needs of the military and then trained to individuals when they retire, often on their way out. Part of the pipeline for getting out of a special operations unit is to take your skill set, your experience and your knowledge and your applied skill set and hand that off to the next set of trainees. So that information, as you're leaving your experience, or leaving your employee of the military, you actually literally train on your way out. So what's the last thing you did, and what's the first thing on your mind as you leave the military in one of those units? Typically training. Now at first it was just a couple of them that put their hat in the ring to train military or police or others interested in either getting into that pipeline or building or keeping their skill sets developed once they're out. You've got just interested third parties that want to learn the skill sets, is just like any other piece of surplus. And then at this point, you got cosplayers and you got other instructors who are trying to build their reputations and taking these classes. So those initial instructors that are coming out from military and law enforcement training or experiences and then become trainers is really interesting. And the development of it is all there. It's just there to be found. It just takes some time to find it. I've stole some time here and there to work on it, and fits and starts as part of this project and others. But one of them is Range Master. The reason I started explaining all that is Range Master. It's one of those things that most people haven't heard about, but I don't have it in here because I got nothing else to do. And it's certainly not in here because they're paying anybody to put it in here. They haven't been around since 2014. But to get the authentic information about how we got to where we are today, I tend to include things like that when I'm able. And it's not that I have any firsthand knowledge other than I understand from everybody who's knowledgeable in the realm, they respect this class, and there's still people with their credentials, the Range Master training credentials. And it would be great. I can't wait till this show gives us the opportunity to have people on that do have knowledge of this kind of situation, and we'll have interviews with them to help get that information out there. Next up is the K&M shooting complex that's in Finger. What's up with that? Who names a town Finger? Anyway, Finger, Tennessee. It opened in 2011, and I forgot why I put it in here. I think they might do sniper training or something there. I forget what they do, long range or distance training. Then you got Royal Range. If you look at Tennessee, they're right in the center. I think that's Nashville, the one right in the center. They are an old movie theater complex that's right off the highway, converted into shooting ranges. Very cool concept. It looks really cool. It looks like they're pretty active on social, so you can find them. And yeah, pretty neat place. Right off the highway, accessible to everybody. Because it's right off the highway, there's signs and stuff. Because it's right off the highway, countless people are driving right past it, even people just passing through Tennessee. So I think that's awesome. Being an ambassador to the gun community, you can set up a giant newfangled take on the shooting range and hide it in an industrial area, or you could put it right in front of everybody, right on the highway, where a big old movie theater, thought would be the best place to be, right in the middle of everything. So I don't know nothing else about them. Again, nobody's paying us to be in here, but that seems pretty cool. Now let's talk about something that is basically a pyramid that's a gun shop. So the Bass Pro Pyramid used to be called something else, and some sports had it. And the sports, is a fad. Nobody likes to play sports anymore, so it went out of business. And then the sports sold their pyramid to Bass Pro, and Bass Pro's like, heck yeah. So there's like a big store in the bottom. I've been there. There's a big store in the bottom with a lake in it. And then I think there's a hotel or something. And then up here, there's a place where you can hang out, except it costs like $20 to go up there. So I didn't go up there. But pretty cool. And this is the Mississippi River, pretty close to it. And then like giant highway goes right to Mississippi. So here's the deal. This is right here. You'll see it when you drive into Mississippi, or into, into Memphis, because it's just sitting right there. It's a giant pyramid. It's actually kind of a black color. I did the color like this for some reason, but if the sun hits it like this, it's probably shiny, but it's kind of a black color. You're going to come up to it and then take a right, and then kind of another right, and then a left, and you're at Graceland. So you're welcome. Right near Graceland. Here's this place. Here's Graceland. Move this over. Here's this place. Here's Graceland. And right over here, a really nice vegan restaurant that I went to one time. All right. So next up is the Battle of Athens. So if you look at Tennessee, Athens would be kind of underneath of this star a little bit. On your way to, if you're going from Smoky Mountain Knife Works to where Artisan Tony lives in Chattanooga, well, you're going to pass right through Athens, Tennessee. So that's what we did. And when we went there and hung out for a bit, turns out in 2012, they didn't want to have nothing to do with the Battle of Athens. I think nowadays you can get people there to talk about it. Battle of Athens is when World War II, or was it World War I? Does it say on here? I can't remember. 49, I think. So it must have been World War II. Soldiers came home. A bunch of politicians were being jerks, so they wouldn't share the ballot boxes, or they were throwing away ballot boxes or something. So a bunch of veterans, they raid the armory, took a bunch of guns, and made sure that the elections happened civilly, or at least lawfully. So that's kind of neat. Battle of Athens, Tennessee. You hear about it occasionally, and it's coming up in August 1st and 2nd. Now let's talk about some of the humans and then some of the industry in Tennessee. And I'm looking over here. I keep looking over here because this is where everything is. There's Pants saying ASA. I'm bitching and moaning. Nobody says nothing. And then Pants says Citizens Defense League. What does that mean? There's like a whole bunch of Citizens Defense Leagues. That's the problem. Jay saying not saying anything. Nobody's saying nothing. And then nobody's saying nothing. So are we just not going to talk about Second Amendment Act or Second Amendment projects today on the Second Amendment show? Come on, man. It's every second matters this week. So let's see. We got Ronnie Barrett. We already talked about that. We've got Tiffany Johnson, who is a lawyer. And then, well, at least back in the day, she did a Front Sight Press blog. I'm not sure if she's still doing it or not. That's bad lighting and bad color on my printout here. Then we've got Dixie Gun Works, started in 1954. I don't know if people are familiar with Dixie Gun Works. They're in Union City. If I'm thinking of the right place, that's the one that did all the replicas and stuff, right? Then you got Barrett, started his company in 1982 in Murfreesboro. Been there, took a tour of the place. Not very many people have had the opportunity to take a tour of Barrett, so we definitely appreciate that. And I always want to say thanks to James Yeager for making it possible for me and Haas to get a tour of the Barrett factory. It was pretty freaking awesome. Then we have BC Engineering from 1983 to 2017. They retired a few years back. Boje and Dottie Cornelis, super, super cool people. They're the Boje is the dude that brought the AA-12 to life, basically. The guy who invented it, Atkinson, sold it to Jerry Berber in Tennessee a while ago, and it just kind of sat on the shelf. And when Jerry and Boje started hanging out, Jerry could tell that Boje was probably smart enough to get the AA-12 working. He gave it to him. He figured it out. They repatented, figured it all out, did all the stuff to it, made it a full gun. Eventually started selling a few of them. But in the meantime, Boje did some other, he's an engineer mostly, but he also did some other guns, including the Thunder 5. Have you ever seen the movie Three Kings? That little 410 revolver that the Taurus Judge is a ripoff of. Boje's he didn't invent it, but he's the one that got it working. He has his own version. And then he also made his own version of the mini revolver. I could go grab one right now. When you ever look at my mini revolver collection, there's a gold one in there. What is that called? What's it called? Titanium, whatever, the gold version of a mini revolver. That's literally from Boje's collection. Dottie sold that to me out of the collection after we chatted for a bit. And they understood how much I dug the tiny revolvers, and was so honored to be able to meet one of the people that invented one of them. We only have like a number of inventors of those revolvers, and I've shook hands of all of the inventors except for Dick Kasul, who died before I was aware of what I could do. But I've shook hands with everybody who invented a mini revolver except for the last two, like that IO one and the one that's going around now. But if I can go to SHOT Show and meet him, I will. I guess technically I shook hands with the guy from IO also. But anyway, Boje is super cool dude. And anyway, good stuff. Then you got the Frazier, what's it called? Frazier, Kentucky History Museum. It's in Louisville. And that one was created in 2004. I have not been there, but Logan from High Caliber History, is that what it is? High Caliber History? His project, he's done a couple of videos from there now. So I definitely have it on my list. Next time in Louisville, I'll be going to there and adding that museum. It's like a history museum for Tennessee, but there's some gun stuff in it. Let's see. This project, this is a misprint, but this project, when it's in good form, was done back in 2020. It was an effort to bring our Minuteman University project, which is a giant website that we created after being the media person for Arizona Citizens Defense League and being dissatisfied with the ambitions of the state level organizations. That's kind of if you're a hammer, everything's a nail. So in an attempt to get information out there for activists, skills and resources for activists, I just went ahead and started working on the Minuteman University project. And this 50 states of 2A, one page for each state with the kind of what we've gone over, is an attempt to take that information that's on Minuteman University and put it into a book in this format, state-centric format. So when we did that in 2020, we did that as a crowdfunding project because I'm not independently wealthy. I can't just do this for nothing. So we raised some funds to be able to take the time to figure out how to do all this and buy a couple of things of printer ink and then send them out to everybody. And you can't hardly read that there, but that's roll call and Mark. I don't know which Mark that is. Mark H. We're the two folks that sponsor the Tennessee page. So we had the option to sponsor a bunch of different pages. And maybe because it's touching Tennessee, maybe roll call just likes Tennessee, or maybe because it's touching Indiana, or he just likes Tennessee. But one of the pages in the project was our saying thanks to all the folks that made it possible, and the different pages that this is not focusing Brightwood, but this is a little hash mark next to each of the pages that they sponsored. So thanks again to the folks back in 2020 that gave us the ability to set this thing up, and we're using it now, this misprint of it now, to address different states each week on this daily segment of our Daily Gun Show, or this weekly segment of our Daily Gun Show. All right, with that said, I couldn't shame anybody else into adding any other organizations. So the only other organization, well, all we have is the ASA, the American Suppressor Association. So I'll put in, come on, man, you know the thing, and that is the default for all the people that hate. Boom. So now you can either vote for the ASA or you can't vote for anything because there's only one option. So as far as I know, the American Suppressor Association was created in 2012. So let's jump over. Oh, I got this on screen share. We might as well just share this. Sharon, come on over. We're going to open up the Minuteman University skills, right? Resources. That's all it is. Home, skills, resources, about us. That doesn't count. Home doesn't count. Skills, resources. Go under resources. You got firearms law, 2A history, gun rights lobby. Well, the gun rights lobby, you got gun owners' rights groups. American Suppressor Association, a gun owner's right. Okay, let's open that up. Start to scroll down chronologically. There's a hell of a lot of them because there's a lot of infringements and whatnot. But when you find the owl holding onto a musket and he looks like he's flying with it, that's the American Suppressor Association. It was started in September 8th of 2011. It was originally known as the American Silencer Association, and it's now called the American Suppressor Association. It was founded by Knox Williams in 2011, and in 2011, there were 285,000 legally owned suppressors in circulation. So about, you could say, what is that, 300,000, right? 250,000. 39 states it was legal to own a suppressor. The American Suppressor Association, let me throw this link out for people. This is our summary of it, our sit rep, right? Our attempt to have other places online that talk about the organization. Let's see. So in 2011, AAC, American Armament something Corporation or something, Gemtech, and Silencer Co. each pledged $5,000 towards the development of a trade association. So 3 companies, AAC, I think they were down in like Georgia or Alabama or something like that. AAC, Gemtech. Gemtech is in Idaho, something like that, I think. And Silencer Co., Utah. We did a tour of Silencer Co. in 2010. They're super cool dudes, and all those are available online. We flew up there and visited an event that was happening in Salt Lake City. And while we were there, we toured the North American Arms Factory and the American Suppressor Association Factory. And super cool dudes. That was in 2010, snap. Then 2 years later, they create the American Suppressor Association. Is it because I visited and urged them to get rid of the NFA? Look, you'd have to ask them about that. That's all I'm saying. Sure, I visited them 2 years before they invented the concept of removing the suppressors from the NFA, but it has nothing to do with me visiting there. It might have nothing to do with that. Anyway, so in 2013, Knox became the executive director of the ASA. Then, who cares? Somebody became the attorney, then somebody became this. But here's the important part. In 2020, last year, a couple of years ago, I guess, 1.75 million suppressors are in circulation. So what started out as a mere, a third of a million, we now have almost 2 million, really freaking close to 2 million suppressors in circulation. Is that because I went and did a tour of the Silencer Co. factory in 2010? There's no way to say that. That's crazy talk. But those things did happen in that order. Let's say law-abiding citizens in 42 states can own suppressors now, where it used to be 39. So it's a little bit of a change. Listen to this, though. Hunters in 40 states can now use suppressors because there's no longer restrictions. I don't know what that was back in 2011, but it was fewer because that's one of the main things they've been going after. And one of the first things they did, which I don't have in here, and I guess I could just edit it right now and add it, is that in 2012, what? 2012? How can I remember that far back? Well, because I lived it, and it was an amazing thing. In 2012, the ASA visited the ATF technology branch in Southwest Virginia. Marksman knows this one. No, wait, Southwest Virginia. So this is West Virginia. See, I always get that mixed up. So anyway, visited the ATF branch in, let me make that in West, right? And now let's do this. ASA visited the ATF technology branch in West Virginia. What if I just dragged that and shoved it in a browser? What would happen? What's going to happen? What could possibly happen? Oh, there's a video of me talking to the ATF NFA in 2014, 2 years later, but that's because I'm copying off them. So lame. I guess I can go back to all. And I don't know. I guess it's not in here. So I'm going to go to American. Okay, let's try searching for their whole name. Visited the ATF branch. American Suppressor visits Capitol Hill. How about a video? Because what we're really looking for here is the video. Is it going to find it? No, it's not going to find it. It's stupid. So now we're going to take all of that, copy it, because we need to copy it. Now we're going to just go to stupid YouTube. Not that way, because that's taking too long. So we'll just go to YouTube. Let's see. Beal does rock. My toe prints are in the cement outside of something. They were pouring a new crosswalk. I don't know what that means. So now we're going to go to the internet, the YouTube, and type that whole thing in again. And let's see if we find it over here. Bam! That's how fast it was. So this is a 7-minute video, and this happened 9 years ago. Shut up about this already. Shut up about this. You people that don't live in Arizona don't even know the pleasure of not listening to this damn chick tell you about solar panels. Let's not get copyrighted, which does happen to me all the damn time. See how it said American Silencer Association? You see what it said right there? Look at the production value of this. This is Josh, the guy that owns Silencer Co. So this is the video you're watching, and this is Josh saying stuff in 2012. Keep in mind, a couple years after I visited, and maybe I inspired him, maybe I didn't. But a couple years later, he goes to ATF, and this is them on his little dinky plane because it's in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia. And then here's them walking down fancy places in Capitol somewhere. Okay, yeah, well, guess what? That's meeting with the fancy representatives in that, right? So once they get done meeting with them, then it's, hey, why don't we take you to West Virginia?
The chief of the NFA branch, and Stephen Albro, the deputy chief of Firearms and Explosive Services Division. Before discussing our issues, they were kind enough to give us a tour through their facilities, and we were able to meet a large number of examiners along with many of the temporary researchers.
So, right, look at this is ATF. Basically, it looks like some kind of weird place. Those are Form 1s and Form 4s in 2012, sitting in a hallway. I think it represented, you'll look in the description here, and people did the calculations. Many hundreds of dollars, many thousands of dollars. Each one of those is $200 tax stamp for the most part, with a check in it waiting to be dealt with. And this was ATF going, right? Like, can't do it, because they're sitting around not filling out paperwork, right? So this was unprecedented. And that was the American Expressors. So, oh, snap. I was about to. So I just lost that thing, right? I did put it over here, but it would take me a lot of work to go over here and copy and paste. So you can go to your history and say, go to my recently closed tab. Sucker. Now the browser went and found it for me. Stupid robot does all the work. Now I can come back over here and go 2012 ATF or ASA visited the technology branch, and now add a link to that video so that this is a more effective resource and hopefully inspires people. Now it probably won't, because going and taking video and stuff is no big deal. This was a big deal in 2012. No one had done anything like this before. No one had shined light on it. No one had had the freaking balls. No one had had the gumption, and no one had the style. This was such a well-produced video in 2012. It was movie level. It looks like nothing now, but that's because you're used to everything and you're taking everything for granted. This is a controversial, amazing video. 20,000 views, 19,900 views, July 9th, 2012. Now, to some extent, it wasn't 100% non-controversial. Some people did not like that Silencer Co. or American Suppressor Association at that point was even dealing with ATF. And I'm not a big fan of making any of the process easier, because fuck the process. But this was still significant. Whether or not you appreciate it or you value it, it was significant for sure. Let's see, what else can we talk about ASA? They're super cool dudes. They seem pretty solid. They're hip, and it was one of the first of the new breed. If we go back to the Minuteman, and I've just updated the site there. So now the site has that video we just seen. You know what I'm going to do? Because the American Expressor Association is so freaking awesome, I'm going to also go down a little bit lower on the page, and I'm just going to drop the whole video. And what happens when you drop it in modern internet, you drop a link, it assumes you want it to be an embedded video, and it just embeds the video. So now we can go back to that post and see that now when somebody clicks on this website, they're going to have access to that awesome video from Silencer Co. But when we go back to the resources, Gun Rights Lobby and Gun Owners Rights Group, or excuse me, groups, what we're seeing is a chronological list of all these groups again, right? American Suppressor Association shows up in 2011. Let's take a look at what was happening in 2011. A Girl and a Gun came along in 2010, about a year earlier. Before that, you had Oath Keepers. Does anybody remember Oath Keepers, or does anybody know about Oath Keepers? They've been around for a little while, and they started in 2009. You get some smaller organizations, some state-level organizations. This is an international organization. Then Florida Carry starts in 2011, and then American Suppressor Association starts in 2011. But aside from some smaller organizations, nothing really big. Connecticut Carry, the Well-Armed Women, and Firearms Policy Coalition all get, and 1 Million Moms Against Gun Control. Well, I shouldn't say that. Connecticut Carry, Well-Armed Women, which is now Armed Women of America, and Firearms Policy all came along the next year in 2012. And that's what I guess I was getting at, is that significant. There was nothing going on. There was the end of the assault weapons ban in 2004. And where were we? Nagger. fucking $16 million. Crump gets fired for dressing it. Right? They exist in 2001. You've got USCCA. I won't get into it. They exist. Let's just say that some of the organizations that, oh my God, and this is weird. This is a whole nother thing. I don't want to get too far into it, but this, if you look at the organizations that exist from 2001 here to here, holy shit, even this one, you had some interesting individuals running organizations or deciding to start organizations. So this is right after Y2K. That might have something to do with it. This is right after 9/11. That might have something to do with it. Oh, fuck. That's exactly why that guy started his shit, huh? No, he started it just before. So it wasn't in response to. But yeah, that's interesting. I've never paid attention to that before. But anyway, you get nothing going on in 2001. Nothing. A couple of things. Buckeye is something. AZCDL is something. Happening in 2005. Georgia Carry is something. Holy shit. So is it that these organizations came along and then everybody was like, wait a minute, they're not representing us. And then you get everything valid. Holy shit. All kinds of valid stuff happens. And then an attempt, look, you got your first student one happening, Students for Second Amendment comes and goes. Then you get Students for Concealed Carry 7 years later. Oh, it's almost like somebody that went to school for 4 to 6 years and then let the organization die. And then here's another take at it. And then how far before we see another student organization? Interesting. There's that pattern. But you see a bunch of people that, let's just say, are questionable, that raise a hell of a lot of money and don't necessarily... They raise a lot of money well. And then you see 4 years later, at the end of the assault weapons ban, boom, boom, boom. Buckeye, massive organization. AZCDL, Georgia Carry, come on, man. Some of the tops. Did things that then everyone else emulated. Project Appleseed, can I say come on, man, again? Come on, man. Cal Guns Foundation, please. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was... things happen in here for a minute. And then watch what happens after Cal Guns. Armed Citizens Defense League in 2018. Okay. CCDL. Okay. Girls Shoot Like a Girl. Okay. Right. But we're talking one thing a year. Some of those state level ones, Girl and a Gun a year later. And then ASA. So there's this kind of, trickle of state level organizations. The people are using the internet. Groups of people are deciding that they can emulate what's already been done, or they can do what's been done here instead of there, or for us instead of for them, or whatever. And then after 2011, boom, you start to see organizations just start getting wailed on here. And then again in 15, really big surge. And that has to do with the apathy from 13. I'm almost sure at that. Anyway, so that's where I'm getting at is ASA. They come in at a time at a national level when nothing else is hitting the scene yet. A Girl and a Gun, it does exist, but I never heard of it. Like, no one ever heard of it. It was just existing. It was an infant stage still. Florida Carry is a state level. I just happen to know them. But all these others are local level, state level, and they're not doing anything. And Oath Keepers is just getting in the way, and nothing's happening here at a national level. Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network, it's national level, but for people who are doing like Masada Yube's level firearms instruction or training, nobody is just thinking about carry insurance at this point. This is years before the carry insurance movement even starts. It's because the Arizona Citizens Defense League literally just got created, and they haven't started the constitutional carry wave in 2010, right? So Suppressor Association hitting the scene. YouTube starts in like 9. So none of these organizations even touched YouTube. None of them. Florida Carry a little bit because they were hanging out with us. Nobody else though. Because we weren't doing that kind of stuff. And that's, they hit the scene and they're like, boom, here's a video. Here's a video that's better than anything anybody's making. Here's a video that's better than anything. You know how these coffee videos are that people get so excited about? The coffee shop videos where the veterans who came out and are selling coffee to everybody. Those videos, they're going viral all the time, or at least they were. I don't know if they still are. That's how ASA was. It was like, wow, I want to watch this video just because I want to watch it. And then I'm going to realize that they're showing us not just a cool video, but what they're showing us in the cool video is the ATF. And no one's ever looked at that before. Nobody realized that, but they're now seeing what it looks like in the hallways of the ATF. They're visually seeing all those Form 1s and 4s sitting in freaking boxes being ignored because of the poor staffing decisions of the agency, right? They're seeing all that stuff, but they're seeing it in cinematic level video production. It was awesome. There was maybe one or two fringe YouTube, enthusiasts into the like editing Magpul, for example. Like somebody was out there doing some of that, but they weren't sharing everything they did. They were like letting you buy DVDs and stuff. This was something that was just available in 2012 on the line. Boom. So it had to inspire a bunch of people to go, wait a minute, we could be doing this with style. We could be doing this with without permission. We could be doing this on our own without an affiliation with another organization. I don't see any resulting industry taking anything on, which I blame the industry for. But yeah, super, super cool organization. And hopefully I don't know if anybody's ever, I've never heard anybody do a deep dive on them. That's about as deep a dive as I'm going to be able to do, though, I think. So with that, I will, we were just talking about them. I think I'm going to end it because I don't have anything else beyond that. They have done more. I'm just not, focused on any one organization. They just happen to remember in 2012 when they kind of changed the playing field a bit. You definitely seen people follow their lead. A whole bunch of people ditched their whole way of doing things and then went straight into following what ASA did as far as their video style and production level. In fact, the coffee people might have seen this and decided, oh, let's step it up a notch. We can be like TV. It looks like they've taken credit for, at least on their website, for legalizing the ownership of suppressor in Iowa, Minnesota, and Vermont. And then, we hardly ever get anybody from Vermont in here. Just FYI. If you're ever from Vermont, let people know about it, because nobody from Vermont goes online, I don't think. Legalized use of suppressors while hunting. I don't like the way I worded that. Did I word this? Yeah, I guess I did. That really should say decriminalized or removed the infringement on using suppressors while hunting. This is shitty language. I apologize. I'm going to change it right now. So removed the prohibition on. And then if you don't know how to spell stuff, just halfway spell it and the robots will spell it for you. Prohibition on whatever. So they removed the prohibition on suppressors while hunting in, here's a list: Georgia, Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maine, Michigan, Minnesota, Montana, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Ohio, Oklahoma, Texas, and Wyoming. Vermont isn't real. They often get thought of as being real. It's kind of like one of them pillars in a Harry Potter movie. People are driving around up there and they can't really tell what's going on. They stop for maple syrup. They get all loopy. And then, yeah, sure, Vermont, I bet. Have you ever met anybody from Vermont? Ask yourself. Just saying, what's a Vermont food? Oh, you know what I'd like? Vermont, French toast? Please. There's nothing from Vermont. They don't live. Or maybe it's just robots. All right, well, with that, we're going to know what the state was today. It was Tennessee. The organization was American Suppressor Association. Looks like everybody voted on it, too. So, boom, we can end the poll. We'll end the show at, dang, that was right close to an hour. If I really hurried, I could make it an hour. I'm not in that big a hurry. The show's over. So I'm going to throw the link out there. If people want to jump into an after chat, that's available. I don't know how long I'll be after chatting, but we'll throw some links out there for the folks that make the world go round. A lot of people during the day are self-absorbed. They just assume that everything gets reset. They just assume everything gets clean. Like, what does it get real rainy at night and windy, and the rain washes everything and the wind folds everything back up? puts everything back in boxes and fills things up, and right. So the people that don't get appreciated are the folks that are out there right now, and so they're probably working or whatever. The rest of y'all, if you want to jump in and chat, then we can chat about 2A stuff. Otherwise, we'll be back tomorrow with the what is tomorrow? May the 4th. May the 4th. Well, there's probably no play on words that gets used on May the 4th. We'll probably just have a typical tactical quiz that won't be anything fancy and won't do any kind of play on words or do any kind of science fiction thing. There'll probably be no robots involved at all. So if you want to pay attention to that, we'll be doing that at what time? Midnight Eastern, 9 o'clock out here. And I guess with that, we'll be back to pick you up later.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
Tuesday, we focus on a different state each week, taking a look at their firearms laws and history. We also feature a gun owner's rights group and take a look at their background, focus, and successes.
Tonight's episode, Murder by the Numbers.
So let us know what you think. We'll be watching the comments wherever you find the video, over on gunstreamer.com or on guntube.org.
Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourages you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching gunwebsites.com.